But one thing I am confident of, Elizabeth, is when people wear our product and they hear the impact that it makes, we get loyal customers. And Nobody Denim and Outland Denim are going to be two brands at the forefront of that.
Hello and welcome. I'm Elizabeth Formosa, the founder of Fashion Equipped and devourer of all things fashion, business and mindset. In this podcast, I'm speaking with thought leaders, change makers and entrepreneurs about the business side of fashion and everything in between. Fashion Business Mindset is your front row seat to real stories from designers, brands, entrepreneurs, makers and mentors. We'll discuss how to launch and grow a fashion business and give you insider access to the future of fashion. So let's do this together and ensure that you're equipped to make the fashion business your business. James, welcome to the Fashion Business Mindset podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Stoked to be able to join you again, Elizabeth.
Likewise. Now, a lot has happened since we spoke last on the podcast, both in your business and in the industry. And I hear you have some big news to share today. So let's dive in.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, well, you're very right. A lot has been happening in our industry and certainly for our business as well. So I'm really grateful that I could be here and talk to your audience and share what's happening for us and the exciting news and things ahead. Like many businesses have been going through a really tough time over the last 3 years, the way the economy has been with COVID and the challenges in retail and the closures of, bricks and mortar retail businesses. And that's really played havoc on businesses like Outland Denim and many others around our country and many others as well. So it has been a pretty challenging time, and it's really highlighted, I guess, the need to be able to adapt and not be rigid in the way that you run your business. That you need to be looking for opportunity to be able to continue to grow and, again, adapt to those market conditions that we're currently facing.
Yeah.
So I think, for us, one of the, quite exceptional moments for us has been really coming across an opportunity to be able to buy more of the market that we're currently in. We're really addressing a very specific part of the denim market. We're going after customers that really have a little bit more disposable cash to spend. And although those things are tightening with interest rate hikes and the cost of living going up, we're still finding that we're getting growth in that part of the market. And I think, you could probably weigh the growth we're getting up now in the market against the difficult 3 years that we're coming out of.
Mm-hmm.
And so to get any kind of growth is probably just a result of it being really tough.
Yeah.
And but we're making the most of that opportunity. We're really jumping on it. And so we've come across a brand actually that we've been watching for a long time and inspired by for a long time in the exact same part of the market as to us, and that's Nobody Denim. And it was not all that long ago that I was presented with an opportunity to be able to look at buying the brand. And, at first you think, well, how on earth would we ever be able to get ourselves into a position where we can acquire such a strong brand to really add it to what we're trying to achieve with our own business? And, it's all happened. It's now settled and we own the brand and it's joined our group, and that's going to mean a lot for our business.
Amazing. So firstly, congratulations.
Yeah,
that is
thank you.
Huge news.
Yeah.
Can you share what the dynamics of the acquisition looks like?
Yeah, look, I mean, when you buy into another brand, there's lots of ways that can be done. And a lot of the time people might buy the business. In our case, we haven't bought the business. And it was really important to us that we didn't buy the business. I mean, you never know sort of the liabilities that could be associated with an existing business. And for us, it was really important to be very clear that we would just buy the trademarks and assets. And so that means for us that, we now have the rights to use the Nobody brand and logo and bring that into our wheelhouse. And really that's what this acquisition looks like for us, is the rights now to use the brand and own the brand into the future. Yeah.
So James, let's walk through it. What does this mean for you personally, for your business and the future of your maker group?
Well, for me personally, it really is a pinch yourself moment. My wife and I over the last, month or two have been just sitting there going, can you believe that we've just been able to buy this brand that we've really respected, and we had a lot of admiration for what the brand has achieved over the last 25 years. We'd always celebrate when we were opening new retail doors, and we'd take a door off nobody. Our team would cheer. We'd go, oh yeah, we got another one off nobody. And they would probably do the same thing, I imagine, because we're competitors.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that excites me, is that although we're competitors, we're able to, I guess, secure more of that market. So that's really important to us.
Yeah.
So personally, it's a really incredible moment. There's also lots of fear associated with, growing your business. I've never run a multi-brand business before, so this is a new thing for me. And I know I'm going to learn a lot, and our whole team is going to learn a lot. For our business, I think this is something that's incredibly exciting. What it means is that straight away we have more volume. It gives us more buying power, our supply chain, and all the work that we do. And really the whole reason that we exist is around creating impact in our supply chain. So whether that's through our manufacturing facility that we own and control, or all the way through our supply chain back into the cotton field, this acquisition makes that way more powerful than it's currently been. And so there's a lot that I'm really excited to talk to you about in that space through this acquisition.
Yeah. Let's just pick up on the, enormity of what you're stepping into. And you mentioned some of the fear around that. How are you going to, work through that? The people that you have around you, the, drawing on all of the experience that you have gained over many years now in our industry. How do you see that kind of taking you into this next stage of leadership?
Well, it's a big jump, and it's very clear. And I think, those that are around me and close to me, that's the concern that they've all had as well, is like, hey, this is a really big leap forward. And I'd be naive to think that it wasn't. I am an optimist though. And so when I see an opportunity, I get excited by it. And, for me, the main thing I see is opportunity, and there'll be opportunity for personal growth, for all of our team to grow, and our business to grow. So I think it is more important than it's ever been for me to personally have good people around me that can not be yes people, but I need some of them as well. Yeah. I need some of those in my corner that can encourage me, to keep going, because some days it feels really heavy.
Yeah.
I think the connection of our why, the reason that we're in business, sometimes for me gets really, really heavy. It's probably what the greatest amount of fear I experience is all around, which is that we've made commitments to vulnerable women in Cambodia that need this. Their families need this, and their communities benefit from this whole thing working. And the fear that I experience is, what if I can't make it work? What if this falls over? We've been watching fashion brands fall over left, right, and center over the last 3 years. This is another example. Us being in a position to be able to acquire Nobody Denim, them going through challenging times, trying to manufacture here in Australia, the challenges that presents, COVID, 3 years of COVID for them, losing their international market. You can see the impact it can have on a business. And so for me to sit here and think that great operators like the owners of Nobody, the previous owners of Nobody, if they find themselves in a challenging position, why wouldn't I? And so those things are always in the back of your mind. So I guess that brings us back to, having good people around you. And so that comes down to me to, I'm assigning a new advisory board around me with people that I know that have the right vision, that are really in it for the same reasons as me. They love our industry. They love the potential of what we could create together in our industry. And so I think, moving into this next stage of our business with the right people around me, I actually think that we're going to be able to kick goals that I never dreamed possible.
I couldn't agree more. I know you're going to kick those goals. So let's touch on that advisory board. So what is the significance of having an advisory board in place, and how do you see that is going to help you steer the business forward?
Look, it's really important. There's so many things. One of my mentors would say to me in the past, you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And it's never been truer to me. And I used to be ashamed of the fact that I didn't know. Why didn't I know that? How could I be so stupid that I didn't know that that's how it was meant to be done? And sometimes that's a benefit. Sometimes it's great being naive. I don't think I would have started in this business if I knew how challenging it was. But it's also a really freeing comment. You don't know what you don't know. In that there's certain things that I do know that I'm strong at, and there's so many things that I don't know that I'm really going to be weak at until I learn or bring somebody in to support. That's why an advisory board is so important. I'm basically going, I have this much knowledge, and now I have this much because I've got the right people around me who care for me personally, and care for our business and the impact that our business can make. And so choosing those people is actually really difficult. And I've had amazing advisors over the last few years that have been able to help in different ways. But what I'm really trying to establish now is a board of people whom have the experience in the grittiness of what this business is, in the challenges that are faced here in, somewhat a startup stage again. We're really going back to the beginning and really trying to reestablish who these brands are, identities, market share. How do we not, jeopardize the sales of each other's brand when we're in a really close proximity to each other from a customer perspective?
Yes.
So there's so many things that I need that experience. And, I'm really excited to, tell your audience that you're one of our advisors. And you've been helping me over the years, well, for quite a long time. You've been helping me and supporting me with advice, and now to make that official is something that's really exciting to me.
Well, it's very exciting to me also. And I think I love how you articulated all of that. None of us can be on this journey alone. And I think from an advisory position, being able to immerse yourself in strategy is very powerful. And when you're running a business, as you are, and now you've got a portfolio of 2 brands, there's a lot of working in the business, and you can't be immersed in strategy all day, every day, as much as you would love to be.
Yeah.
So I think bringing in that advisory board, having people on that board who really understand the industry and the retail landscape and all of the dynamics that we have to juggle on a daily basis, I think that is very, very powerful. So yeah, I couldn't be happier to be part of that journey. I love nothing more than to look at a business from the top down, look at where it is now, where the business wants to go, and then start to hit the ground running in terms of how to get there. So can't wait to be part of it.
I'm glad you're excited, because we're certainly going to need a lot of support in this next phase, that's for sure.
Yeah, and no doubt you're going to get that support because you are doing some amazing things. Let's talk about the differentiation between the brands. So perhaps let's start with a little bit more of a background about Nobody Denim, and then let's talk about how you're going to continue to differentiate. There'll be some synergy, of course, behind the scenes with the consolidation of manufacturing, and then you're broadening the team. We'll talk about that. But I'm sure everyone will be interested to know, how are the 2 brands going to maintain their position in the market and build consistently, grow in their own right, without there being that kind of internal competition that often happens when you are managing a brand portfolio.
It's funny you say that, this internal competition. I mean, they say everything needs to start from the top, Elizabeth, and I still find myself now, I'm logging into Nobody's online sales and Outland's online sales, and I'll go, oh yes, Outland's the front today, or oh no, and it's funny, isn't it? Because you're so ingrained in the way it was, and there's so much change that needs to happen, not just in our business, but internally in our own minds and our mindset. Outland is my baby. It stands for so much in my personal life. It really is a representation of my own person, of what I want to achieve with my life and what I think that brands can achieve. And so I guess that's where one of the challenges comes for me, is going, hey, can I be as passionate about this new brand coming into the portfolio as I can about Outland? And that was a question that I've been really wrestling with. I've noticed that as I've really started to dig in with our operations team to the realities of what this is really going to mean on the ground in Cambodia, for the people who make this product, and realizing how powerful this is from day one in their lives, and to people who don't even have that opportunity yet. We're going to be employing new people as a result of this. It really then starts to strike that chord within me of going, wow, like actually nobody could be more powerful, in it's got a bigger customer base than Outland has. It's going to create instant impact on people's lives who wouldn't have this kind of impact otherwise. So that's making it for me something that's very personal and very real and excites me. And so I get this passion. I'm starting to get really passionate about the brand. And then when you're passionate about these brands, you want the best for them. Like, it's nearly like they are people, you want them to thrive. It's nearly like it's your kid. What opportunity is there for this brand to be able to excel and succeed? And nobody's succeeded in its own right. Like, it has been incredible. It was established in 1999. It's a 25-year-old business. It's been through the GFC and so many challenges, and it's got a real cult following. People love the brand, and they love the brand because of the quality of the product and the fit. And, it's about making their customer feel really good in these jeans. And that's been a focus for them. And I love that, because I think, as we, I've been working in this industry now for 12 years. And I think about the connection between a product and how you feel in your everyday life. When you go outside, when you're wearing your product, it gives you confidence or it takes it away. And, I think that then presents what a pretty incredible opportunity to go and push into that with that brand. This is really important to this brand, that it makes people feel good about themselves because the fit is perfect, and so much attention to the detail in the product is in it. And then for Outland, Outland is really about changing the world. It's really about, for those people who go, how do I be a part of the solution? It's not easy to be a part of the solution. There's so many messages out there in the world, and I want my dollars to count. I want them to stand for something. Outland is the brand for you. Outland is a very progressive brand. It's really about trying to challenge the status quo. It's about creating products that people, again, feel really good in, but very elevated. And, we've seen a lot of success in the last 6 months in particular of really elevating our product and being a lot more trend focused and bringing these fashion pieces in. And that's created lots of great international opportunity for us in these past months as well.
Amazing. There is so much differentiation there. And as you said, Nobody Denim, it's a heritage brand. So what an amazing acquisition, just bringing that strength into the group. Not that Outland Denim doesn't stand very strong in its own right, but there is some clear differences there,
Definitely.
which means more market share
Absolutely.
for the business. Ultimately, let's just go a little bit deeper into Cambodia and your supply chain model, and let's just share with our listeners how important that is. When you say, about the supporting the workers in Cambodia and obviously consolidating the manufacture, was your factory finding it challenging to remain at capacity over the last few years? So just to clarify for our audience what this actually does in terms of the game-changing element to the heartbeat of your business and what you've been so passionate about from day one.
When COVID hit us, it was like, I feel like I look back now and I go, for the last 3 years, I've just been depressed, because it was so hard. We had 2 facilities in Cambodia, and I would just stand on that no matter what. I'll die before I let any of these people go. We cannot, it's not even an option. I'd put it out of my mind every time, the financial pressure was getting tighter and tighter, and it was like it was strangling us. And I just remember consistently saying, I will not. And I'd sit in front of our advisory board, I'd sit in front of our key shareholders, and I'd say, I just will not. It wasn't even on the table to even think about reducing that. As we continued on, I think in Cambodia, there was about 6 months where everybody had to be at home, and we continued to pay people to be at home, and it was just like sucking the life out of the business, but it's why we're there.
Yeah.
And we just kept going, and year, and then another year. And in last December, so nearly a year ago now, we'd made the decision that we needed to close our original facility out in Kampong Cham, which is more of a rural province. And it was the hardest decision I've ever had to make. And in fact, standing in front of our staff there that day to tell them that one, to thank them for what they've done for the business, and to tell them that it has to close. We gave opportunity for all of them to move to our other facility. But, it really was a moment in our history that I think has at first looked like the worst thing that could ever happen, but now 6 months on in hindsight, has proven something to all of us in that just how powerful this business model is. And that is 6 months on, everybody who had to leave that job had the skills and ability to be able to go and get other jobs where they were now able to provide for their families. They all reported recently in a recent survey that we did that they would love for Outland to come back out to the province and set up manufacturing there again. So it was, I guess, giving us a bit of a confidence booster, even though we went there kicking and screaming, not wanting to close the facility. So there's a little bit of the backstory of, just how challenging the last 3 years was. That was the last thing on earth I ever thought that I would do. But I was forced to do it in order to save the bigger picture. In saying that, we were able to grow our external manufacturing considerably through that period of time. Other brands have looked, and they've looked for good denim suppliers. They want to do the right thing. It's very difficult to do the right thing. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors in the industry. When we talk about supply chains, there's lots of corruption. And so it's very difficult, especially when traveling was challenged. They needed to find suppliers that they could trust. And thankfully, we've been able to work with some really good Australian brands to be able to build out that part of our business. And so when we talk about the heartbeat and the reason we exist, it is for the people. And, we know that by caring for people, we're able to create some really significant, long-lasting generational impact on their lives, their communities, and as well. But beyond that, environmentally, there's a change that comes with helping these people and integrating different kinds of technology into the reduction of energy, water, and chemical usages. And so really when brands are looking for somewhere to manufacture, they want all of these things, and we're able to offer them. That's what we've spent our life developing is a facility that can offer these things to other brands. And so that was able to sustain, the rest of our workforce in our main facility in Phnom Penh, the capital of Cambodia. So we're very grateful to those brands to align with us and back us in our mission. It becomes their story when they manufacture with us because of the products that they are making, creating, and selling, and their customers are wearing. They are creating this cycle of freedom for people whom they've never met. And so I think that's just really, really powerful. Nobody Denim coming into that story is a game changer. They will be selling probably close to 3 times more than Outland is currently selling. So you think about that volume coming into our facility and what that's going to mean. Straight away, we're going to be employing at least 25 new people to come into the workforce that are either currently vulnerable to or currently being exploited in a range of different ways. When we think about that, I think, this is the reason that we exist. And so by moving this manufacturing into our facility, straight away, 25 families are going to be changed. And that's just an immediate impact. And then if we measure the flow-on effect of that into their wider family and community over the years, like we've consistently done with our existing staff, we know the impact of this is going to go far wider than just 25 families. So, this acquisition really, that is the main thing for us. That is the I guess the probably biggest reason that we as a team came to the decision that this was a really good idea. This was worth pursuing. Yes, there's additional risk. Yes, you have more overheads. Yes, the economy is not in the greatest position to be wanting to do that. But I also think, this is a great time if you're able to manage it, to be able to make the most of these kinds of opportunities to get that growth when a market is really struggling.
Absolutely. What a powerful model, James. And just to reflect back on the hard decisions that you had to make during that time, as you said, you had to close down one of your facilities, but a testament to you and your team was that those amazing workers that had also invested in their own development by being there and being part of your vision and all of the support and training that you offer, as you said, they were able to go out and gain other employment. And now, who knows, they're most likely going to circle back to your business based on the growth that you're going to be building over the coming years, which is so exciting.
I think one of the things, sorry to interrupt you there, Elizabeth, is that, they can have all the dignity in the world. They would often report that they felt they had no dignity based on some of the terrible things they've experienced.
Yeah.
But these women have come in, and because of their own hard work, and because of the skills they now have, that they've been able to completely reestablish what it looks like for their family economically.
Yeah.
And to be able to be put in a position like this, to go and gain other employment, it really shouldn't be glossed over. It really is, I guess, a sign that this really does work. If you can give people just the chance at a better life, most will grab it and most will run with it and be successful. And that's certainly the experience that we've had.
Yeah, absolutely love it. And I love that you've created this opportunity for other brands to be part of that whole model. That, as you said, you've spent many, many years developing your supply chain model, and it's a purpose-led supply chain model, and other brands can tap into that manufacturing arm. Do you see that continuing now with the acquisition of Nobody Denim, and obviously the business growing, and the production capacity is no doubt going to go through the roof? Do you see that you're going to continue to grow the manufacturing arm and continue to offer this to other businesses out there?
I love this question because it gives me the opportunity to, I guess, share about how big I believe this could be.
Yeah.
I think this is a huge opportunity. And, when you start for the reasons I started, it's very easy to be a bleeding heart and just think about the social impact or the environmental impact we can have through business. But equally important to those things is the economic impact. And I don't just mean on our staff, I mean on the entire group of stakeholders that enabled this to happen in the first place. And so that means our investors, it means our retailers, it means our customers, the people that buy our product. So the answer to that question is absolutely, we want to make for the right brands, and that's really difficult, finding the right brands. We don't just make for every brand that comes and wants to make with us, because we refuse to be used as a greenwashing tool. The brands that we make for, we have a level of confidence that they're really about wanting to make a change, utilizing their businesses. I have a belief that often can come across as sounding a little bit unrealistic, and at the risk of that happening again, I'm going to share it. I believe that consumerism, although it's a bit of a dirty word, it can be used to be able to create significant scalable impact. And that's really what my focus is. I want to be able to harness the power of consumerism through the production of products that, one, benefit all stakeholders. So again, all those that are investors in these businesses, they benefit. They have to benefit. And in fact, we have to build this to the stage where they benefit more from this than they will other investments. Now, that's a real challenge in itself, because it costs more to run a business like this. Yeah. How do we get those margins? Well, I'm really relying on the end customer. The end customer says, I want my dollars to count. I want quality product, but I want this product and the way that it's been produced to align with my personal values. And so therefore, the people that make this product need to be benefited. We need to be activating a cycle of freedom every single time we make a product for the people involved in the supply chain of making that product. We also, and this is the bit that probably sounds unrealistic to a lot of people, we need the planet to be healthier because we made the product. And I know that's very ambitious, but it's absolutely possible. And we've been consistently working on different technology. And the biggest breakaway area we've got on an environmental level from products being a positive thing is the waste at the end. So what's it used for? I mean, there was a great Sourcing Journal had a great article only yesterday from one of the Levi's execs, talking about resale and the realities of a lot of that resale side of things. That's not really my focus. My focus is, how do we make more product? And if we could make more product, and every time that product was made, leaving people and planet better and investors making more money, then ultimately you've got something that is a machine that will start solving the problems of the world just by being. And that's ultimately, I think, where we need to get to. I don't think we can.
It's definitely a controversial point.
Yes.
We've discussed this before because what's topical in our industry right now, it's slow things down, make less. What is the impact on people if we do reduce production significantly? What's the impact?
Well, I think there's around 350 million people around the world that rely on the production of cotton. And when we talk about that, a very large majority of those people are very poor. And so the impact on those people is significant unless we're able to provide them with other opportunities. Now, if we look at history, we can be really confident that that won't happen. We can be confident that we won't transition them into other crops, skills, at whatever it is they need. And so therefore, if we look at it from that perspective and we start to connect the environmental and the social issues together, and in fact, it's impossible to separate them. And it's probably the part, Elizabeth, that I find most frustrating about the conversations I hear in our industry is that it's very much about environment. It's very short-term thinking. It's about how do we reduce emissions? Absolutely, reducing emissions is a great thing. But not if we're only thinking about, the first tier or two of how we reduce those emissions. What does it mean when we lose those jobs because we're recycling fibers? And again, I'm not against, recycling things. Absolutely, I think there's great to come from some of that. But to rely on that as the solution or the silver bullet is actually, it's incredibly dangerous and damaging. And it's going to be dangerous and damaging to the 350 million people that rely on this particular fiber. There's some great research that was done a number of years ago by a guy named Kevin Bales. He would be one of the leading modern slavery experts. And what he found in that research was that if slavery was a country, it would have been the third largest emitter of CO2 behind China and the US.
Wow.
So that really puts it in perspective about how important it is for us to connect people and planet.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're doing anything other than that, if we're just focusing on people, then it's not going to be a wholesome solution. If we're just focusing on planet, it won't be a wholesome solution. I think it's quite hilarious, mightn't be the right word, but interesting that, retailers, brands, we're talking about slowing down, buying less. I think that's absolutely ridiculous for anyone who's in the business of selling products to be going, buy less from us. Ultimately, it's a greenwashing mechanism a lot of the time, maybe not for everybody, but I think the majority, to say buy less. What they really mean is, hey, trust us because we really care about the environment, so buy more. We've got to think bigger. We've got to put investment into technology to be able to, every time we grow a plant, the photosynthesis absorbs carbon out of the atmosphere and put it in the ground. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
How do we use that? How do we make that cycle into something that's really positive so that people and planet are benefiting from it all the way through? I think it's possible. And I just want to see more brands and more businesses and more conversation around these issues, that we're thinking big enough so that, my kids and their kids, they're going to be able to look back and go, yeah, cool. They made some really good decisions, that particular generation, the way they ran their businesses, the way they innovated to be able to make sure that we've got a really strong future ahead of us.
Mm-hmm. I think it's possible too. And if anyone can do it, I know that it's you, that's for sure. Let's dive into some of those points around people and planet. Well, we've touched a lot on people. Let's go into the planet and the environmental side. So let's talk about some of the sustainable practices that are at the forefront of your business model.
Yeah, look, for us, it's actually quite simple. It's how do we reduce energy? How do we reduce the water that we use, and how do we treat water? And then also the kinds of chemicals that we use in the production of denim. I mean, we all know denim's one of the dirtiest parts of fashion. It's if you Google it, and you want to see some of the nasty images that are out there, the dyeing processes and the way that the chemicals are discarded of in the ecosystems of, some of the poorest people around the world. Like it's destroying their habitat. Well, we really focus on trying to find those kinds of solutions we have from the beginning. And that's core to our product. It's core to our business. And so, one of the things I'll always say is you can tell the difference in our product because when you put it on, it doesn't react with your skin. Lots of chemicals are carcinogenic. And yes, there's a limit that it's got to be under. And then it's, safe to sell in certain countries with their standards. But our product feels beautiful because of the kinds of dyeing and the kinds of chemicals that are used in the processing of our product. That's important to us. Sometimes it costs us 50 times more per litre to buy those products than it does for the conventional stuff that you see on most shelves.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the trust we're trying to build with our customers, going, when you buy our product, that's what you're investing into. You're investing into making sure that it's done the right way. Now, to say that we're perfect would be a complete lie. We still use energy, we still use water, and getting those things to a position where it's a positive thing is going to take innovation. There's nothing out there that exists yet to get it there. I mean, we talk about solar and the power and storage of batteries and all of those things, and there's lots of negative that goes with that. You know, the the carbon created as a result of making a battery, and the mining and the social issues as a, you know, mining for all of those minerals. Like, there's lots of issues. But what we can't do is get stuck on that it's too big. We can't get stuck on that, you know, it's not perfect. It's about progress. And I do think we hear a lot of that in our industry, a lot of conversation around progress. And you hear some really, really good leaders in our industry continually reminding us that it is about progress. And I think that's a bit of a mind shift that I've had to have, is that I'm a little bit of a black and white, all or nothing kind of a personality. And so unless we're doing it right, we're not doing it, you know. What that means is that you're not going to be able to progress. It is going to mean that there's an end to the impact you can have. And so I really have come to understand that progress is really what we're chasing, consistent progress.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's that progress over perfection, isn't it? Because
Absolutely.
it's not a perfect world.
Yeah.
There is no perfect industry out there. No one's got the magic, you know, answer. But we have to keep moving forward, and that's those incremental improvements that add up to astounding results at the end of the journey.
Yeah.
So you've also got the waste arm to the business.
Yeah.
If you haven't got enough on your plate, you've basically been at the forefront of looking at solutions around waste.
Yeah.
What does that arm of the business look like now, and where are you heading with that?
That's a really exciting arm. It's one that keeps me awake at night because it's commercially, it presents the biggest opportunity we have, because it has the potential to solve one of the biggest issues we face on an environmental level at the moment as well. If we read any newspaper, we will be at some point be able to read about the amount of waste, textile waste especially, that is going into landfill. I think the latest statistics are now that they're saying about 200,000 tons of textile waste making its way into landfill here in Australia alone. And so when you think about that, that's a really big issue. And when you think about, again, like I've just mentioned, the chemicals that are used in these products, leaching into the soil, you know, soil degradation is at an all-time high. It's getting worse. It's not getting better. So if we really want to care for population growth, we've got to start thinking about soil and how we care for the health of the soil. Well, our industry is deeply connected to that. Again, the way we grow our cotton, the chemicals used in that, all the way through to the end product and how it's discarded off. So first of all, we need to make products that last as long as possible. But secondly, what happens then is, I think, one of the biggest areas of change that can happen. And yes, recycling is one of those ways. But again, we've mentioned, you know, some of the potential risks with that on a social level and connecting that to environmental. So I believe that coming up with a solution that, yes, won't be a silver bullet, because nothing is going to cover everything, but something that can make that next step into something that can regenerate soil, something that can stop those toxic chemicals leaching into the soil and destroying the quality of the soil is important. And so we've been working in a joint venture with a Spanish company to come up with a solution. We've been on it for quite a few years now. We've tried lots of things haven't worked, but we're very close to being able to get to that next step. And so you know, I'm excited because all of those that have invested and trusted us and backed us will benefit from this when we can take it to the market. We can't share all the details yet, and you know, I've had many interviews where we've talked about this and like, well, tell us what and how. And that's just something that I can't do yet, because we really do want this to be commercially successful as well. And the reality is, it'll never make any impact if it's not commercially successful. You've got to have money to scale these kinds of things, and therefore it needs to show a lot of promise.
Well, I guess I can't ask all those questions that I was going to ask. But is it anything like Teex? Are you aware of Teex and what they're doing in the industry? Is there anything you can give us? Is it anything like...
I love Teex. Yeah, I love Teex. I love what they're doing. I think is really it's a game changer. No, it's different. It is different. It's got a similar, I guess, it's a similar mindset that we're using in you know, the strategy that we would use to process, you know, organic matter. But you know, we're really trying to harness this that as much as I'd like to say to you, it's about carbon, it's about soil, and how do you utilize the growth of a plant to be able to sequester carbon, get it in the soil, regenerate soil. There's different processes that can be used. And that's what we've been focusing on. I mean, we started by growing mushrooms. We were growing mushrooms on our fabric to try and eat it. And surprisingly, mushrooms do eat the fabric, and then they'll even eat the synthetic parts of it as well. But it's not scalable because it's too slow, even though it's surprisingly quick. So we've just consistently looked for different ways. And it was just an ad hoc meeting that I had with one of my colleagues at a coffee table in another country, and someone sitting at the other end of the table, and I met them, we got talking, and it's led into this business venture that everybody who's invested into what we're doing is going to benefit from.
Amazing. Well, it's a much needed solution. So can't wait to hear more about that. That will be an absolute game changer, as you said, for our industry, because it's the biggest issue that we're facing at the moment. We just cannot continue to put the volumes of product into landfill.
No.
So cannot wait to hear about that. So let's recap the group. You have Outland Denim, you have Nobody Denim, you have the manufacturing arm of the business. You are at the forefront of finding a solution around waste. Now, as we know, we need the right people around us to be able to achieve these, huge missions in life and in business. Who's going to be on the team? I hear that you've just opened a Melbourne office, so you've already expanded into Melbourne, have your own office now, and you have an additional 5 team members on board?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we've taken on another 5 people, and they were existing Nobody staff. And, integrating those people into the team has been surprisingly easy. They're very professional, very experienced, and actually Outland will benefit, as a result of these people coming in. One of the efficiencies that we get to enjoy is the fact that we're operating as a group, not as individual businesses. And I think that, by not having to have as many staff in your headquarters to operate every part of it is really where we can make this, win or lose ultimately. So bringing those people in, bringing the right advisors in, I think gives us a really solid start to be able to, one, stabilize everything. We've got new businesses, the new brand in, and now how are we going to launch from here and scale them? And like we said, how do we make sure that the brands have their own identity, that they're not jeopardizing each other in the sales process, and ultimately that we're slightly skewing them away into different customers as well. So that's really what one of our big focuses is, and then the growth opportunity that I really get excited about by both brands is that international market. I mentioned earlier that we've just started to take Outland Denim back into the international market. We've had these really big wins and early success there. Well, that opportunity exists for Nobody as well. It pre-COVID had an international market. Lots of brands had to pull back into Australia through that period. So we have all of that to realize yet and taking it back out there. So it's a very exciting time ahead of us.
Yeah, really exciting. I mean, how many people did you have on the team at Outland?
So we had 10 on the team at Outland, and so we'll be 15 now. Amazing. Operating the 2 brands. And we've got designers who operate just in the brands, and then we've got a group that operate all the operational and finance aspects of it. And obviously we're going to need to continue to grow. But I'm all about keeping things really lean as long as you can. You don't want to stifle growth, but at the same time, when we're in the challenging times that we are economically, it's really important to keep it as tight as we possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so exciting just to have fresh eyes on the business as well. So obviously with your org structure, you'll keep it quite streamlined because, as you've said, you've got to differentiate between the brands, but there'll be that meeting of the minds across the group as well. So
Absolutely.
Just, that those ideas, that fresh perspective that will come to the business can be really invigorating.
Yeah. It has been inspiring already, just to hear the way they look at things. the Nobody team, and the way they think about product and development, especially. That's been really interesting, because it's slightly different to the way we do it. And so I think we can get the best from both brands to make something even better.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as of this month, you're about to embark on a crowdfunding round. So let's talk about that. What are the objectives? What are you setting out to achieve?
Well, for us, it's always been important that, we say we're a community brand. We say we're a brand that's full of people, and we want as many people to benefit from this as possible. Investors are also those people. We've done 2 equity crowdfunding raises in the past. They were both really successful. And we brought in, through those 2 rounds, 1,800 people who've invested in what we're currently doing. That means that they are the ones that will benefit from this into the future. Now, to be able to expand on that, to bring more people into that investor group, is really important to us. And I think the thing I really admire and appreciate about the opportunity to do equity crowdfunding is that everyday people can own a piece of the pie. And I think that's important. A lot of the time, investments that need to be made in especially early stage companies, it's big dollars that's required. It's hundreds of thousands or millions. And what this does, it opens it up for somebody to be able to invest as a smaller amount as $250, and they can own a piece of this. What it does for us is it means that we are able to expand and we've got 1,800 investors / ambassadors out there.
Yep.
We can make that an even bigger group. It gives security to the brands going into the future. Think about traditionally how brands have operated. They might have private equity or a venture capitalist come in and fund their growth. That's just one group. So they don't have the kind of security that we have in going, we can send an email out to everybody and say, we've just dropped this, or here's a new opportunity. You go and buy this product. Here's a new retailer. And we can generate that kind of support for our growth through our investor community. Every time an investor buys a product, they're actually helping themselves and helping their own investment. And so it's just a no-brainer in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's quite new. It's still, I'm not sure, maybe 5 years it's been around for in Australia, I think. That's a new concept to lots of investors. And from my perspective, it's a really, really positive thing.
I love it. 1,800 ambassadors
Yeah.
and customers.
Yeah.
So you've really got that, that ecosystem of the investment, the support, and you've got the commercial side as well.
That's right.
So during this round, what are you looking to raise?
Look, we want to raise a minimum of 2 at this point in time. We're just going to, gauge interest, and we're going to launch that soon, and we'll see if there's much interest out there. We have high hopes that there will be, but once we sort of gauge what's out there, then we'll start to set sort of those targets. With the money that we raise, we're going to be able to achieve some really big things. Ultimately, taking these brands back into that international market, making sure that they have their own identities and that they're growing in that way is really important. So I think combined between both brands in Australia, we have over 170 retail doors. So we've got quite good reach already. But to be able to, one, expand on that reach here in Australia, but then go into that international market, that's just putting it on steroids, So our growth could be huge. Obviously, that kind of growth costs money, and that's what we're going to use this raise to do.
Well, it's the perfect time to invest, everyone, based on everything that you're doing and this acquisition and the business just going next level, James. How has the industry responded? So based on those 1,800 investors that you already have you had many people from the industry invest and become involved?
We have, and it's I'm not sure if I'm allowed to mention, but there's people that have invested from places that, I just go, wow, I can't believe that they would back us, and especially in those earlier days, it really was surprising. And I know we'd have retailers at events, and the support we've had from the industry has been exceptional. People often say that it's a really tough industry and it's very catty and that's not been my experience. My experience of our industry has been the opposite. People want us to win. Media have been really supportive of us. A lot of the time in the earlier days, we couldn't afford to have PR representation, yet we would still get written up in articles time and time again, journalists really wanting to expose our story. And so I think that because we all are looking for solutions to be able to overcome these global issues, and that our brand and our group of brands now has the ability to address some of them, we're going to continue to get that kind of support. So from a retailer, their customers looking for these products. So the more retailers that know about this, that are able to put it on their shelf, the impact gets larger. And obviously our distribution network is really important to us. That's how we grow. That's how we're going to be able to be successful. And ultimately, we want to prove something to our industry. We want to prove that it's possible to do it the right way. To do that, we need to be commercially really, really successful. And absolutely our eyes are set on it. We look at some of the biggest premium denim brands in the world. And, I know that it's, sounds ambitious, but we're going after them. We want to grow to go after these kinds of brands and companies and put pressure on them. Every time we take another customer, another retailer from them, we're winning, and we're putting pressure on them to change the way they do what they do. They need to be able to use the power of their business to change these things about the world. And if they can't, they shouldn't be in business. And I think that's the future that we're looking at.
Amazing. Amazing. What a great opportunity to tap into, I think, the way that you think about and see the industry. It really is, you're very forward thinking. And I love how you said that your experience with the industry hasn't been actually how it used to be. You mentioned the word caddy, but
Yeah.
it was very closed in the old days. And I think now we've really moved into this phase of collaboration over competition.
Yeah.
Because it was
Yeah.
very, very competitive. No one ever shared anything.
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
a lot of trade secrets, and you wouldn't share your supply chain. You wouldn't share if you were innovating or your strategies. You certainly wouldn't be talking about strategy and letting everyone know,
No,
what
yeah.
you're doing. But now it's working together is more powerful, as we know. So definitely want to put a call out to our industry, whether you are another brand, whether you're a retailer, whether you're in the service-based, sector. Just think about getting involved, because it's not just investing, it's actually becoming part of a community,
Yeah.
and being part of an amazing journey that is just going to keep evolving and growing over time. So how can people get involved? Has this been released yet? Will they just go to your website? How can we get people connected with this round of funding?
Yeah, so we launch on the 17th of October,
Yeah.
so next Tuesday. I'm not sure when this is going to air, so
Yeah.
it's probably already live by the time you're watching this.
Yeah.
You can go to virtual.com. That's there, and that's the investment platform that we're using. You can express your interest and basically that's just filling out a form and looking at what you know about the brand or the group, and then going, yes, I would be interested in investing X. What that means then is when we launch to open the offer 3 weeks on,
Yeah.
you will have the opportunity to get in and invest. We will have a maximum there, so we're still working out what that maximum number is that we want to raise. And when we put a number on that, then you'll have to get in before hopefully it reaches that maximum. And ultimately, join us in being able to personally have that impact on the individuals that are making these products and their families, and know that you are changing their lives. Obviously, all of the environmental things and the exciting stuff we've got in the future, but also it's smart investing. It's investing into the future, not just your own financial future, but beyond that as well. And I think that we hear a lot about ESG these days, environmental and social governance, and how even big business and they're being forced to change and think about these things. This is a business that's well ahead of that curve. We exist for that reason. And so impact investing, this is the grassroots of being able to be an impact investor, investing in these kinds of things.
Yeah, I love it. Who wouldn't want to be an impact investor? It's just so much bigger than the individual, isn't it?
It is.
So we'll put all the details in our show notes.
Amazing.
So if everyone tuning in, they can get access to all of those links and know where to go really seamlessly. Now, shifting gears now, James, let's talk about the retail landscape. We've touched on a few things, but are there any other noteworthy trends that you're observing and anticipating that you're going to have to respond to and perhaps even leverage in the coming months and years?
Well, I mean, trends are, up and down, so we think about, the jeans I'm wearing today as an example, only a year ago I was wearing slim jeans, and today I'm trying to wear relaxed jeans, and now I put a slim pair of jeans on and I feel really awkward in them, you know. So that's trend for you. That's going to come and let's go. What we're trying to do is create products that really stand the test of time. And yes, my slim jeans are still in my cupboard, and I will probably pull them back out at some point. Maybe I'm getting too old for that, but you know, maybe they'll come back out and I'll wear them again. As far as trends, as far as running our business goes, you know, one of the things that I can't get my head around yet that I'm using every single day is ChatGPT.
Me too.
It's like an assistant, you know, and I have concerns about automation and artificial intelligence. Like I think most of us do. There is absolutely a concern of privacy and what is it going to do in the long term. On the positive side, what that's been able to do for me and my business, the way I want to run my business into the future, we need to be efficient if we're going to be able to compete with the biggest brands in the world.
Yeah.
And this is a part of getting margin, you know. So for us, it's incorporating all of that kind of automation that's possible out there, you know. I mean, we think about things like Canva, you know, and the ability that Canva has to be able to change the way we would do social posting or even our lookbooks or anything that once upon a time we were in Adobe and we were like, you know, cutting images out and, you know, it's so time consuming. Canva at the click of a button can do those things. And I think if you're not moving with you know, the way that technology is advancing, then unfortunately you'll get left behind, and you'll get left behind not because it's necessarily has a better outcome. It's just more efficient, you know, and we're paying an assistant to do those things, or we're paying a graphic designer, or, you know, so we can pull back some of those overhead expenses there. But again, we always have to weigh that up with the social impact of that. So not just in countries like Cambodia where we manufacture, we have to weigh that up here in Australia. What does that mean for our workforce? We can't be so naive as to think that there's not going to be an impact on writers. I mean, right now, my wife's a journalist, and I would send her, you know, important emails and things for her to edit constantly. Well, it's rare I do it anymore. I just throw it into chat and I say, please edit. And it comes back within seconds, edited and sounding way better than I could have done it anyway. So, you know, it's just incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. And I agree. I don't think there's anyone I know at the moment who's not using Chat GPT. I think it's also going to create new jobs. So there may be some, unfortunately, as you said, you know, journalists, writers, there's going to be a change to their role. But now we're seeing, you know, AI prompt engineers. So we've got people, their entire job is to work out what the best prompts are to put into chat. So there's going to be this whole, you know, there's going to be jobs that exist in the next few years that we are not aware of right now as we're sitting here today. It's just like when social media first came on the scene. You know, what was the social media strategist years ago? That didn't exist. So now, so there's going to be this quick, I think, evolution in that space. So yeah, a lot of fear around, you know, jobs being lost, but jobs will be created as well.
Definitely. And I think it's, you know, that's one of the big differences in you know, we're in a really privileged position in a country like Australia and lots of these more wealthy countries where we can reskill, and we're really thinking about that. We're on the forefront of like trying to, you know, always be more efficient and create job opportunities. You know, it's, you know, our prime ministers and presidents are elected based on, you know, unemployment rates a lot of the time too. So that's always at the forefront. Unfortunately, in poorer countries, that's not always the case. And so that's where I really feel we've got to be really careful in the way automation comes into our industry. Think about even production and manufacturing. We've got to constantly be monitoring that stuff to make sure that if people are losing jobs, that they are given the opportunity to be reskilled into something new, or that maybe those developments come with those shifts.
And what about robotics? Is robotics something that you've got your eye on from a manufacturing perspective? Or obviously we don't want less people in your supply chain, but again, it's about improved efficiencies.
You know, I had this conversation with my daughter. We've just bought some equipment which is going to really speed up our production in Cambodia. And it's just, it's about some automated stuff that happens. And, you know, I said, oh, we've bought this piece of equipment and this is what it does. And she's like, Dad, will people lose their jobs? You know, and I just loved it because, you know, she's 10 now and she's been brought up her whole life. She's been brought up around this concept of that our job here on earth is to be able to find solutions for people who aren't as privileged as we are. And it's ingrained into her. And that was her first thought around this automation. So we have a concern, obviously. That's what the kind of conversations that we will have around our dinner table is, what is going to happen if robotics comes in and replaces the workforce? Look, unfortunately, robotics is coming in and replacing the workforce. That's how companies can increase margin. It's we read in Bangladesh, brands, moving away from the country right now because of the increased cost. And we're talking 0.7 or 0.07 of a percent, like a really small number. And brands will leave a country, leave poor people, put them in a worse position. So really, I think the issue that we all need to think about is our own personal values. I think everything comes back to that, is our own personal values. And what do we really cherish and what do we really want the future to look like? And if we can answer those questions honestly with ourselves, it will start to help us identify how we think industry should be built. Yeah. Should industry be built to benefit people? And what does that look like? How should we treat the planet? All those things are really important things, and they come back to that core of what do I really hold close and dear to me as a value that I want instilled in this world.
I love the question that your daughter put to you.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a testament to all of the beautiful values that are being instilled in her, that her mind went straight there. But it's a really important thing to keep top of mind.
Yeah.
So no matter what happens in the future around all of these changes, innovation, technology, we've got to remain focused on the human element.
Yeah.
And then it's always, our top priority.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to throw this one at you. Let's fast forward 5 years into the future. What does the industry look like, and what does the Maker Group look like in synergy with where the industry would be at that time?
In 5 years, I think our industry will have made significant changes. One of the things that I find challenging is buying a pair of shoes. There's some good brands out there that are doing the right thing, but then you come up against this accessibility issue. And if you're as unplanned as I am when it comes to buying a pair of shoes, I need them because I need a clean pair of shoes for tomorrow, so I need to be able to drop into a store and grab them on my way to the airport, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
In the future, we need more brands that are doing the right thing so that people like me can stop in a store and grab something that I go, I'm proud of this. But as I research what shoe brand will I buy, what I do notice today that I didn't notice even 2 years ago was that there is all a plan in place that's now communicated on their website on how they're going to go and achieve those things on both social and environmental levels. That's a huge step. So if we're seeing that now, I think 2030, it's a big number for us all, right? It's for our industry, it's a big number. It's for our country, it's a big number. Brands that don't move in that direction are going to get left behind. That's my hope, at least. There's always going to be a part of the market that, look, at the end of the day, the cheap retailers that are making it really low cost, it's never going to be okay. It's never going to leave people and planet better. It's always going to come at the cost of people and planet. I don't know what can be done about that, to be perfectly honest. Like, that's a really hard issue, and some people can't afford anything other than that. And so I don't know what we're going to do, but we need to do something. But I think our industry is going to get to a place where brands that can afford to do the right thing are going to shift. So we may actually see costs increasing in some brands because the pressure to do the right thing is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. That means they're going to have to put their prices up or they're going to lose their margin. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That will then challenge culture. Culture is a big thing. It underpins fast fashion. We've been taught that we should have 10 pairs of jeans or 5 pairs of jeans. We need a different color for each different day of the week. Fridays, it's going to be light denim, and the rest of the week, it's dark. They're issues that I think will change over time, and it's because of the good work that's been done by so many within our industry that are communicating these issues constantly, and people are slowly changing. I see it when I sit in the cafe today. I hear conversations, and it's like, wow, people are talking about this. So that's really solid. I think our industry's got a bright future. As far as the Maker Group goes and, what we're trying to establish, I have obviously it's clear that we want to make as much impact as we can with as many people as possible. So really that comes down to every unit that we make and sell, that's how impact grows. So I want to make more and more and more. So that means I need to align with more brands. But I also am really motivated to really prove over the next 5 years just how beneficial to our investors this kind of investing can be. Because imagine if you could really engage the impact investing community. At the moment, the impact investing community is probably not very advanced or educated on what real impact looks like.
Yeah.
A lot of the time is it's solar power, and they think that, okay, if it's solar power, that's impact investing. And yes, sure, that's good. But impact investing can go so much deeper and be so much more powerful than that. And so I would love to be able to prove that, hey, the 1,800 and hopefully soon to be 2,000, 2,500 investors that have invested in what we've done have benefited way more from being a part of this than they would have if they were a part of something else. And that's got to be a big focus for us over these next few years. So that's the commercial side of our business really growing and becoming really solid, which means that we need to be very solid players on the international market. And that's going to take a lot of hard work to be able to get that brand exposure. But one thing I am confident of, Elizabeth, is when people wear our product and they hear the impact that it makes, we get loyal customers. And Nobody Denim and Outland Denim are going to be two brands at the forefront of that are going to be able to continue to grow their customer base of loyal followers as a result of doing it the right way.
I absolutely love it. I took 3 pillars from that. So there's going to be more brands with purpose. We're going to have a cultural shift from a consumer perspective, and we're going to have more impact investors. James,
That's the hope. Yeah.
That's actually going to happen. I can see that we've just looked into the crystal ball and we're predicting the future there, guys. So absolutely see that coming down the pipeline at us. James, your energy, your passion, your drive is contagious. No doubt you are going to take your organisation and your team along with you to the next level. Cannot wait to see what you do next. Congratulations on this amazing acquisition. Don't need to wish you luck with the next crowdfunding round because we know that that's going to be a success. But can't wait to support you on this journey. And thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. Stoked to be able to be here and appreciate all the support that you've given me over the years.
Beautiful. Thanks, James.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for listening to the Fashion Business Mindset podcast. We'd love to keep connected. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Fashion Equipped. Head to our website, fashionequipped.com.au. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share this podcast with others, hit subscribe, leave us a rating and review. Let's do this together. Let's make the fashion business your business.